So, last night I watched the newest addition to the Alien franchise, Alien Romulus. Let me tell you guys, it's actually pretty good. So, get ready for my spoiler-free review. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
So I'm gonna keep this one quick because for those of you who can't see, I'm actually at work. I'm doing this during my break, so it's gonna be a quickie. I'm actually torn as to whether or not I should even call this movie a reboot. It's a soft reboot, I guess, because technically it still takes place within the universe that Ridley Scott created, within that timeline. But it does feel like a reimagining of what Alien could be, or what the franchise is in general, going back to its roots and all this stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and call it a soft reboot. And again, spoiler free. I'm gonna keep this spoiler free as I can, and it's gonna be a quickie. So quickest version possible. I highly recommend this movie. One of the reasons why I call it a soft reboot is because technically you don't even need to see anything else in the franchise in order to understand it. Of course, you would benefit from watching all the other movies because you would get a whole bunch of Easter eggs and certain characters and storylines that appear in the other movies. Because again, it's a big universe, it's a lot of movies. But I think you can go into it not knowing anything and still be able to follow the storyline pretty well. Of course, it's better if you watch the originals. Like, it's better if you watch at least the first one, because you get to enjoy things a little bit more. So for example, very quickly, if you kind of know, again, I'm going to keep this spoiler free. If you kind of know how the xenomorph works, how it grows, instead of getting the shock of how it works, you actually get to enjoy the tension of who's going to get it. And that's actually one of my favorite parts of watching a movie, a horror movie or something like that. It's trying to guess, like, okay, who's going to get it first? Who's going to get it first? And so you get to enjoy that a little bit more if you already know how it works. So if I'm going to recommend something, I'm going to recommend at least watch the original Alien movie. It'll make this one more enjoyable. Again, you don't need to watch it in order to understand, but it will make your experience more enjoyable. Also, it's a great film. So, again, easiest version possible. Shortest version possible. Highly recommend it. Worth your money. I actually watched it in the States, so I paid more to watch it. I do not regret a single penny I spent in that movie. It's disturbing. Okay, so first off, it respects the original a lot. It takes a lot of elements from that. It takes the aesthetic, the tone, the overall messages of abusive corporatism and all that stuff, and the critique of it. And it brings it to the 21st century in a way, and it respects that. It respects that world, the aesthetic, and it also adds a few new elements to it with his own unique style. So the director, I forget his name, Fede something. I had it written down, but I forgot. I closed the tab. Anyway, so Fede Alvarez, I think. You can tell the dude loved the franchise. So he was very respectful with it, with the monster, with everything, and the characters in a way, the universe as a whole. And he kept the underlying world intact. So the basis of this franchise, he kept it intact, but he added a few things to it, which was fun. All right, he added good things. It made the whole experience more enjoyable. So it was made by somebody who you could tell loved the franchise. It was made with mostly practical effects, like it had CGI. Of course it had CGI, but it was minimal, and honestly, you kind of miss it. It's like I felt like I was watching a movie in the 90s, like, oh, they actually built a set. Look at that thing. Oh my God. Or that's actually, it's not just a CGI monster, it's an actual animatronic monster. And so that adds to the whole experience, which I thought was phenomenal. And again, certain things were disturbing. And I don't mean just scary, I mean disturbing in a way. The movie, it does have jump scares, of course, but you were scared not just because of the jump scares, which is, I think, is a problem with a lot of horror movies. They are too reliant on jump scares to scare you. No, this one, it actually puts you in situations that you're like, oh, you're very tense. You don't even realize how tense you are. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God. So if you like horror movies, if you like sci-fi, this is a phenomenal. Now, overall, the original Alien movie and Aliens, the sequel, aged very well. Again, because it was practical stuff, and the sci-fi was done really well. It's not as ridiculous as other sci-fi that we've seen. Keeps his feet on the ground. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm a big fan of the franchise. I'm a big fan of the xenomorph. To me, I've always said that the most terrifying monster in cinema is the xenomorph. And I don't mean, like, obviously King Kong would, scare the fuck out of me probably more. It would give me a heart attack just seeing King Kong in the flesh, right? Like right in front of me, coming at me. But I mean, in terms of how disturbing it is, how it looks, not just how it looks, but also all the stuff, the acid blood and all that thing. So it's honestly, it's terrifying, because even if you wanna defend yourself, it hurts you. So it's great. So the guy took a phenomenal monster, a phenomenal franchise, and brought it back to life in many ways. So if you like horror, if you like sci-fi, I highly recommend this movie. What else can I say? The performances are actually really good. I saw some critiques that the cast is really young. I thought that, well, first off, the performances are great. I think the best performance comes from the android. It's an alien movie. There's going to be an android. I thought the android did a phenomenal job, honestly. I think out of everybody in the movie, he probably put on the best performance. Everybody else did okay. The main girl did okay. This is one of the things where it differentiated itself from the original Alien movie. Like in the original Alien movie, you didn't know that Ripley was the main character until a certain point in the movie, right? When she actually becomes the main character. Here, it's very clear the entire time, this is the main character, this is her story. And it's like, okay, it's fine. The girl did a really good job. You could tell they took elements from the video game Alien Isolation. A lot of inspiration from the video game Alien Isolation when coming up with this story, which is great. I love Alien Isolation. I highly recommend it. It's a very terrifying video game. Disturbing in many ways, being hunted by a freaking xenomorph. But so the girl, they did their best to Ripley her. So I don't want to get too deep into it, and again, I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened or what she does, but you could clearly tell that the director was like, okay, watch those movies, you see what she did, we kind of want you to be similar. So you still be your own character, but in a way you need to follow certain things. So like you're a reasonably attractive girl. We're gonna make you not look cute, but you will look sexy in your own kind of weird way. All right. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's your character will be a very competent. Okay. All right. I'm just gonna save some of those things, and yes, some of the characters are annoying because they're dumbasses. It's a horror movie. There will be dumbasses, and you're just like, why are you so stupid? You know what? You get what you fucking deserve. But it's understandable because they're young, right? And I think that's where the age of the characters didn't bug me. It's like, okay, they did a really young cast because you kind of need to believe certain dumb things that these characters would do. Or even the bravery in a way, or like the recklessness that comes with youth. So it's fine. Again, I did not mind that. So overall, is it worth your money? Definitely. Every penny. I'm already planning on buying it when it comes out. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's because I went to the movies with my friends to watch it, which I hadn't really done in a while. It's like not on a date or like a mandate with my buddies. And so the experience in the theater does help out a lot. But objectively speaking, it was a great horror film. Like, and just a great film in general. Sure, it has a few ridiculous moments where you're like, if I do a few mental gymnastics, I could justify this. I could justify it. Like, it's a little silly, but I get it. And again, I get why you would do this in order for this to happen. And sure, this little ridiculous, but fine. Rule of cool. I get it. Go with it. Fine. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I understand. So, cool. Let's move on. So, honestly, I think this could be, the start of something great. Like, if they decide to continue with this particular storyline, or at least the universe that this particular movie set up, I think it could be pretty great. It could be fun. Again, that they added some original stuff that looked very interesting and had a lot of potential, but it's still grounded in a universe that we kind of already know, and that's, I think, pretty well liked, pretty well loved. At least I love the Alien franchise. Not all of them. Some of them are better than others. Like, I'm always torn between Alien and Aliens, because one's a horror movie, one's an action film, and I've always been more of an action guy than a horror guy. But I mean, you couldn't have one without the other, right? You couldn't. It's impossible. Alien 3 definitely not in the running. They took one huge step back there. And Resurrection was campy. That's the fourth one. It was campy. They were creative. I'll give them that. And I'm a Winona Ryder fan, so I guess that's another benefit there. Overall, like I said, great franchise coming back to life, made with love. Overall, it'll scare you. At least it scared me a few times. It'll disturb you, maybe. I don't know, but highly recommend it. Very enjoyable time, worth your money. And I think that's a good place to stop. So comments, questions, or suggestions, you can find me at DarioSDW and at Super Dario World. I don't know what I'm going to do with the next one. We do need to do an NFL one for sure, because we're right there. The season starts in a few weeks, so I'll come up with something. And I also, I guess I wanted to talk about the Marvel stuff with, Downey coming back. I've just been busy. Life. It happens. But I'll think about when my next show will be and let you guys know. So, as always, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you again next time.